What if I told you that the story of the Philippines isn't just about colonization, war, or politics, but a sweeping tale of ancient kingdoms, maritime superpowers, spiritual revolutions, heroic resistance, and one of the most resilient peoples on Earth? This isn't just history. It's a living, breathing chronicle of identity, struggle, and triumph. From prehistoric seafarers to modern democracy, the Philippines has risen through fire, faith, and fierce determination. This is the untold journey of how more than 7,000 islands became one nation with a spirit that refuses to break. Buckle up. In the next few minutes, you'll witness a timeline filled with legends, invaders, revolutions, and hope. Let's dive into the epic story of the Philippines. The origins. Before empires and colonizers. Long before ships carrying flags of foreign kings ever appeared on the horizon, the land we now call the Philippines was already teeming with life, culture, and community. Archaeological evidence suggests that as early as 60,000 years ago, early humans crossed from mainland Asia into these islands, possibly by bamboo rafts, bringing with them tools, customs, and survival skills. These settlers formed small communities that grew in complexity over time, developing distinct identities across Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. By around 4000 BC, waves of Austronesian-speaking peoples began arriving. These expert seafarers brought with them not just language but advanced agricultural practices and an intricate understanding of maritime navigation. With them came the Malayo-Polynesian languages that would lay the foundation for many modern Filipino dialects. These settlers shaped what would become the social and cultural DNA of the archipelago. During the Neolithic period, a distinct jade culture emerged, hinting at a society with artisans, traders, and spiritual beliefs. By 1000 BC, early Philippine societies had evolved into four primary forms: tribal communities, warrior-led clans, aristocratic groups, and trading settlements that connected to regional networks. Sailing the Asian trade. Wins around 300 to 700 AD, the islands became increasingly connected to powerful neighbors through trade. Influences from India arrived through these maritime links, introducing metallurgy, religious beliefs, and governance models. This Indianized wave left an imprint not just through trade goods but through culture, as seen in local spiritual practices and languages. The Philippines became part of the vast cultural sphere that included Hinduism and Buddhism. Intricate gold jewelry, glass beads, and ornate ear ornaments from this time show how deeply embedded the islands were in a pan-Asian trade network. By the time the Pallava and Gupta empires in India reached their zenith, the Philippine Islands were already embracing many of their cultural exports. The Laguna copperplate inscription from 900 AD, written in the ancient Kawi script, is a critical artifact of this time. It tells the story of a debt pardon issued by the ruler of Tondo, suggesting an organized society with knowledge in mathematics, astronomy, legal systems, and diplomatic negotiations. The rise of local kingdoms and maritime states. The first millennium marked the rise of organized maritime communities throughout the archipelago. There was no single governing power, but rather a mosaic of city-states and highland tribes, each with its own leaders, systems, and cultural traits. Many of these settlements had ties with larger empires such as the Majapahit of Java, the Ming dynasty of China, and the Sultanate of Brunei. One of the most documented trading states during this period was Mei, believed to be centered in Mindoro. As early as 1225, it was described by Chinese official Chao Jukua as a thriving Buddhist kingdom known for its orderly governance and honest trade. The 1300s saw parts of Luzon and the Sulu archipelago fall under Majapahit influence. However, this was not a one-sided domination. The Battle of Manila in 1365 stands as proof of resistance and eventual independence for Luzon. The Sulu Sultanate even retaliated by attacking Majapahit-controlled Brunei before being pushed back. This back-and-forth struggle showcased the strategic and economic significance of the islands even before Spanish colonization. The arrival of Islam. In 1380, an Arab trader named Mahdum Karim arrived in Sulu and introduced Islam. This began a religious transformation in the southern Philippines. Raja Baginda, a local ruler, later converted to Islam under the influence of Sharif ul-Hashim, who established the Sultanate of Sulu. In Mindanao, Sharif Muhammad of Johor helped establish the Sultanate of Maguindanao, further embedding Islamic law and governance in the region. Islam did not spread through force alone. It thrived through diplomacy, trade, and religious outreach. Brunei, having broken away from the Majapahit Empire, also helped propagate Islam by inviting a religious scholar, Sharif Ali from Mecca, to become sultan. The spiritual fabric of southern Philippines grew more complex and powerful, setting the stage for future conflicts and alliances. The Spanish conquest and Catholic mission. Then came 1521. Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese explorer under the Spanish crown, landed on the island of Homonhon. He claimed the archipelago for Spain and formed alliances with local leaders such as Raja Humabon. Some converted to Christianity, but not all welcomed the intruders. Lapu-Lapu, the chieftain of Mactan, famously resisted and killed Magellan during the Battle of Mactan. His stand would become a powerful symbol of Filipino defiance. In 1543, the islands were named Las Islas Filipinas, in honor of Prince Philip of Spain. Miguel López de Legazpi established Spain's first permanent settlement in Cebu in 1565 and expanded control using both diplomacy and military force. The capital moved to Manila, which grew into the political and economic heart of the Spanish East Indies. The Castilian War of 1578 pitted Christian Spanish forces against Muslim defenders from Brunei. Interestingly, both sides brought international allies. Spain recruited indigenous warriors from the Americas, while Brunei was supported by Malays, Turks, and Africans. The war ended without a clear victor, but Spain gradually tightened its grip over Luzon and Visayas. Within 2 decades, Catholicism had spread rapidly. Churches, schools, and monasteries dotted the landscape. Spanish friars began converting large parts of the population. The Philippines now had a central government, universities, and trade links that spanned the globe. Initially governed from Mexico under the viceroyalty of New Spain, the islands eventually came under direct Spanish rule. Revolts, revolutions, and a nation. Awakens. Despite colonial control, rebellion was never far behind. Numerous revolts erupted across centuries, sparked by abuses, taxation, forced labor, and cultural suppression. But it wasn't until the late 1800s that a unified revolution truly began to take shape. Filipino nationalists, writers, and revolutionaries like José Rizal and Andrés Bonifacio inspired a movement for independence. The Spanish-American War of 1898 marked a turning point. Spain lost, and the United States took control of the Philippines. Though the First Philippine Republic was declared in 1899 under Emilio Aguinaldo, American forces soon crushed it. The United States established a civil government and promised eventual independence. Education, infrastructure, and governance reforms were introduced, but resistance remained. The road to independence and the flames of war. By 1935, the Philippine Commonwealth was established as a transitional phase toward full sovereignty. But World War II changed everything. In 1942, Japan invaded and occupied the Philippines. The Japanese occupation was brutal, marked by massacres, torture, and resistance. The Battle of Manila in 1945 left the capital in ruins, one of the most devastated cities of the war. Liberation came at a high cost, but freedom was finally achieved. On July 4, 1946, the Philippines became an independent republic. Manuel Roxas was elected the first president. He led a country determined to rise from the ashes of war. His term was short-lived, and he was succeeded by Elpidio Quirino, who began the post-war recovery while fending off communist insurgencies. Marcos, martial law, and the fight for democracy. The 1960s ushered in a new era with the election of Ferdinand Marcos in 1965. What began as a promising presidency turned into a dictatorship. In 1972, Marcos declared martial law. Civil liberties were suspended, media was controlled, and political dissent was violently crushed. Corruption flourished as economic inequality deepened. But resistance once again stirred. The assassination of opposition leader Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr. in 1983 ignited national outrage. Massive protests followed. In 1986, the People Power Revolution peacefully overthrew Marcos. Corazon Aquino, the widow of Ninoy, became president and restored democratic institutions. Her presidency was fraught with economic struggles and coup attempts, but the democratic spirit prevailed. Modern presidents and growing pains. The 1990s brought political continuity under Fidel Ramos and instability under Joseph Estrada, who was impeached for corruption. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo assumed power and led the country until 2010. Her administration saw both economic growth and numerous political controversies. Benigno Noynoy Aquino III took office in 2010 and focused on anti-corruption and economic reforms. Under his leadership, the Philippines filed a case against China regarding the South China Sea and won a landmark victory in 2016. However, implementation and enforcement remained complex. That same year, Rodrigo Duterte rose to power on a platform of law and order. His controversial war on drugs drew global scrutiny due to widespread human rights concerns. Duterte also shifted foreign policy closer to China while balancing ties with the United States. The pandemic and the enduring spirit. The arrival of COVID-19 in 2020 tested the nation like never before. Lockdowns, economic disruption, and overwhelmed hospitals revealed the fragility of many systems. Yet in the face of uncertainty, Filipinos drew strength from the centuries-old value of bayanihan, communal solidarity. Healthcare workers, frontliners, and ordinary citizens worked together to survive and support one another. From ancient tribes to modern metropolises, from sultanates and revolutions to republics and democracies, the story of the Philippines is one of extraordinary resilience. It is a nation that has endured colonization, war, dictatorship, and pandemics, yet remains proud, diverse, and unshakably hopeful. If you found this journey through Philippine history inspiring and informative, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and explore our other videos for more stories from the past and present. Thank you, and see you in the next one.